my trading plans for Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana for the upcoming week. Let's straight away start off with Bitcoin, because last week we can see that Bitcoin made a beautiful push towards the upside. I'm not going to talk about it too much anymore, but you guys know that we cut the exact bottom over here. Called it live on Twitter, called it live in the Discord, and obviously in the VIP channel as well. But right now the question obviously is, what is next for Bitcoin? We can see that we potentially have been seeing a breakout out of this reaccumulation phase. I told you guys that the 50% wick fill over here was a very important target for the Bitcoin price, and as we can see, we filled it for 50%, saw a bit of a pullback, and right now I've seen a small push towards the upside once again. As you guys know, if you guys were watching my high time frame YouTube video update on Bitcoin last week, we know that I've been telling you guys that when we were trading over here, that I was telling you guys that I'm still expecting this week to get taken out. Now, why is it? It is because on the 3-day time frame, we can see that above this wick over here is where we have this untapped supply area for Bitcoin on the 3-day time frame, right? We can also see that while that supply was being formed, it was being formed while we swept liquidity, and we also have this 3-day bearish fair value gap beneath the supply area over here, and the previous high that I just marked out over here is acting as a beautiful inducement. So we know that this supply in between $50,000 and $52,000 is a key resistance area for Bitcoin, and I'm still expecting that key resistance area to get tapped. So it makes up for a very nice target. Now, if we currently look at the price action for Bitcoin, we can determine a potential Elliott wave count, in which there's two different counts in my opinion. The first count being that this is wave 1, this is wave 2, this currently is wave 3, then we get wave 4, and then we get the 5th impulsive structure towards the upside. The second potential count, which is also a possible count but a little sketchy in my opinion, is that this is wave 1, this is wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Regardless what count it exactly is, we know that potentially wave 3 is coming to an end soon. Maybe we can count this wave 3 as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that means that the bigger wave 3 is not coming to an end yet. But regardless, I think that the 5-wave impulsive structure that we are looking at over here has not come to an end yet. I definitely don't think that this over here is an A, B, C correction because it's way too impulsive, right? Because we know that if we are looking at ABC correction, that wave A should be A, B, C, then wave B should be A, B, C, and then wave C should be impulsive. But we can see over here that wave A is way too impulsive. Wave B, we cannot really count an A, B, C to the downside, right? This is like a very short wave C. It is possible, but also not really what you want to see. So in my opinion, we are looking at an impulsive structure, in which that impulsive structure should at least sweep the previous high, mitigate the daily order block over here in between $50,000 and $52,000. So in my opinion, until we take out the top of this week, until we mitigate this daily order block over here, I think that we should remain bullish on Bitcoin. I think that definitely this might be an area where we start distributing, right? Where we start consolidating, where we start seeing wicks into this daily order block, and then we see a huge dump for Bitcoin, right? That's all a little bit too much into the future, but I think over here, if we start distributing over here, if you start seeing big wicks towards the upside, which means that bigger players are absorbing the buy pressure in order to fill their short and sell orders, or when we simply move sideways, in which if we are moving sideways above this high, which is creating a huge liquidity pool over here inside of that daily order block, which is also providing liquidity. If we start moving sideways, that could also be a sign of distribution, and then we can expect a bigger correction to the downside. But my target remains the same for Bitcoin. If you get a retest of the previous range high, I think it's a gift to long it back up, right? If we take out this week, I don't think you want to long pullbacks anymore. But my conclusion is that our focus right now should be on Ethereum and altcoins, because I'm still expecting Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin over the upcoming weeks, Ethereum against Bitcoin, that chart is currently near high time frame support. If you want to find out what kind of support and why I'm bullish on the chart, make sure to check out Friday's YouTube video as well. But right now, let's dive into the Ethereum against USDT chart and also the Solana against USDT chart, because both are looking interesting and I have trade setups ready for both of them. What we can see over here on Ethereum is also a breakout out of a potential reaccumulation range over here, in which we have 3 pivots for this range. Pivot number 1, the start of this impulsive structure. Pivot number 2, the end of this impulsive structure, and pivot number 3 over here. We see some wicks beneath the range low where they accumulate long and buy positions and sell pressure gets absorbed, and eventually we get a push up, once again go down, and right now we are breaking out above this range high. Also look at the respect of the range high over here is resistance, resistance, and then we break out. Now we know that we do not want to chase these breakout pumps over here. We want to remain patient, and if we go to the lower time frames, we can see that because of fake break of structures, we are engineering a lot of liquidity. Fake break of structure, fake break of structure. These fake break of structures are designed for people to FOMO into long and buy positions. Now, where are these people that open up breakout long positions over here, right? Where they're going to put their stops? Exactly. They're either going to put their stops beneath this low over here, right? Or they're going to put their stops beneath the low over here. These are the lows that people are looking at to place their stops. Now, why are these the lows that people are looking at to place their stops? Because their first main take profit target will be the previous high over here around $2,717. And if we, for example, market entry long over here and use this low as our stop loss and this as our take profit target, look at the RR. The RR is over 2, and people are always targeting at least an RR of 2 for their trades. Now, if we use a lower low to cover our stop loss, for example, this low over here, the RR is only 1.22, so people won't use that low as their stop loss. Liquidity can only be identified by trying to figure out what the human reaction is on previous and current price action. You have to analyze the human behavior, you have to analyze where retail will place their stops, and that's exactly where the liquidity pools are. So currently, in my opinion, we have 2 important liquidity pools. We have the liquidity pool beneath this low, and we have the liquidity pool beneath this low. Now we can see that these 2 liquidity pools are aligning very, very clean with 2 interesting levels. The first level being the previous range high of the reaccumulation phase, and the quarterly level of the reaccumulation phase, in which these are 2 interesting scenarios, because we know that after a breakout above the range, if we want to play the perfect retest, that is only possible if we have a valid inducement. Over here, this low is providing a valid inducement. So the first scenario is that we are going to sweep that inducement, accumulate a long position over here, and then pump it to the upside. But you always have to take into account a second scenario. Always have to anticipate a second scenario. Now figure out the people that put their entry over here, right? People are greedy creatures. So people want to use a stop loss as tight as possible to increase the RR, to increase the potential profits. So where are these people most likely going to put their stop loss? If we look at the chart, it's most likely going to be the low over here, which is providing even more liquidity, because if they then target this high, that offers an RR of 6.36. The other low that they can use could either be this low or this low. Now, if we're going to mark out those 2 lows with our stop loss, we can see that the RR decreases towards 2.34 or even below 2. So a lot of people are going to use this low as their stop loss. So what we want to anticipate is a potential second scenario in which we are going to mitigate those stops and we are going to hunt their stop loss and then reclaim the range high and then pump it to the upside. So in my opinion, if Ethereum is bullish, if we want to hop into a trade, we always want to wait for liquidity to get swept. It's either going to be beneath this low or beneath this low. So a potential setup could be with your entry over here somewhere or your entry over here somewhere. Stop loss, you guys have to figure out yourself, or you guys can join our Discord community. I'm sharing the exact signal with entries, with stop loss, with exact margin and risk and the take profit targets in our Discord community. You can find the link in the description. Otherwise, you have to figure out the entries and stop loss and take profit targets yourself. I gave you guys the idea. Now it's up to you guys whether you want to join a Discord community or whether you guys want to figure it out yourself. So for Ethereum, I'm only interested in longing if we take out the sell side and then going to pump it towards the upside. Now, besides Ethereum, there's one more altcoin that is looking extremely interesting and is currently potentially developing a very interesting setup, and that's Solana. Because as you guys can see on the screen right now, also Solana is trading inside of a very interesting range, a potential re-accumulation range over here, in which over here we have seen a very clean deviation beneath the range low, and we had this unswept liquidity pool above the range high over here. And after a deviation of the range low, we know that we should target the range high liquidity pool. The range was once again being formed with 3 pivots as always: pivot number 1, pivot number 2, and pivot number 3. A very clean range. Now currently we have swept the liquidity pool and we are falling back inside of the range. So what will happen is, people identify the range high like this, they identify the range high like this, or they identify the range high with this high over here. Regardless, people are thinking that we are currently falling back inside of the range. On a lower time frame, people are also identifying this as a valid break of structure. Now we know that this is not a valid break of structure. Why? Because this low did not bring us to a new high compared to the previous high that brought us to that low, right? So it's not a significant low that we had to break in order to shift structure, right? So this is not a valid break of structure, but yet again, people identify this as a valid break of structure and they reclaim back inside of the range. So what do? They open up, break down short positions with their stops over here, targeting the range low. Or they are going to long the pullback over here, maybe use a bit of a wider stop loss and target the range low. So people are going to look for shorts because of the range reclaim and because of the fake break of structure. Now I'm going to use them as liquidity, because what I'm personally waiting for is for us to break currently through this high over here or this high. I just have to figure out what high I exactly want to use. If we are going to shift structure over here, because currently on the 1 hourly time frame we have a local downtrend over here. If we manage to shift structure again towards the upside and reclaim that very pivotal range high, I'm expecting a push at least towards $126 and eventually even towards $143, which on the daily time frame is a very important buy side liquidity target. You can even use an extended target towards $157. But more importantly, if we manage to reclaim the range high, the people that are shorting will become underwater in their position, right? And we are going to use their stops as fuel to squeeze it towards the upside. But if we manage to, on the 1 hourly time frame, reclaim the range high and shift structure, I'm going to be longing the pullback over here on Solana with our stop loss beneath the local low. First target being $126 for an RR of 2.5. Second target being $143 for 5.27 RR. And our third target being $157. Now, you can also wait for the perfect retest of the range high level like this, in which if you use this local low as your stop, you get a much better RR. But this is why I always use multiple entry points, because you can either front run the perfect entry or you can get that perfect entry, right? And that is why I'm always using 2 or 3 entry points, and I'm dividing my risk equally over those entry points, and I'm adding margin the lower we go, or the higher we go, obviously, when we look for shorts. But currently, for Solana, I'm patiently waiting for a reclaim of that range high in confluence with a shifted structure. So for example, if right now we're going to move like this, in which we maybe reject the range high, sweep the low, then this becomes the high that we need to break, right? Because this high brings us to a fresh low in that local downtrend. So we need to wait patiently for some more price action to be developing over here. Either we have to break through this high or this high, and by breaking through, I mean that we have to open and close candles above those highs on the 1 hourly time frame. If we get a trigger, then I'm willing to long the pullback with the targets on the chart and obviously the local low that we form after confirming the deviation below the range high as our invalidation or stop loss for the trade. Now, if you guys do have any questions after watching today's video, in which I provided you guys I think, with beautiful trade setups for both Ethereum and Solana. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Also guys, please make sure to smash up the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I'll catch you guys on Wednesday's video. Ciao, ciao!